Do you ever wonder about who makes up religion and how they make it up? Religion's made up? Yeah, all religion's made up. Think about the Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, and obviously you can research all this stuff. Someone made it up. Okay, especially Christianity, right? Jesus wasn't a Christian, right? He didn't worship himself. He came here to show you who you were and to know thyself. You're all creator gods. Okay, they made a religion of him. He didn't ask for that and he didn't do it. Otherwise, he'd have set down divine laws that must be followed to worship Jesus Christ. You know, he didn't call it Christianity. Okay? Our religion is made up. I was reading the other day about some definition of the Catholic religion that Jesus made it up. Okay? I'm going to talk a lot more about this in my definitions in my divinity introduction. But right now, I just want to ponder about making up religion, right? So every single thing out there's been made up. The Bible, the King James, whatever they say, it's the word of God. Well, every word is the word of God, your creator God, okay? No matter what you believe about God, every word you speak is of God, right? So channeled information got distorted. The goddess got taken out. Everything got manipulated. Words are power. Words are spells. They get manipulated over time. People distort them for their own agendas. The one true religion is the same as the one true God. It's you, the unique individual, the unique consciousness that never dies. You don't die. You always were and you always are. And the more experiences you gather, the more unique you get. Okay? And your uniqueness is exploring for the one. So each one of you are the one. You're a creator God. You're creating experiences, but you're also part of the greater one. Okay? My whole life, I've studied spiritual information, everything I could get my hands on, okay? And when I was young, I had the Bible around, the King James Bible, because my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness. I studied Psalms and Matthews. I talked to Spirit. I got communication from, I didn't really know who it was from then. I felt a close connection to Jesus. I always prayed in Jesus' name because that's how my grandma had taught me to pray. But I had information from many sources, and I talked to animals, and I talked to the water, and I always had tons of information coming at me. And I likened it sometimes to the stock market ticker tape. You know, it just goes. It just runs. And sometimes I would stop the flow if I didn't have a pen, you know, something to way to write it down. And then I just give up because there's just so much information. And I studied self-help books when I was really young, just after I could read, because that's what my mom had around, and that was, you know, closer to the spiritual stuff. Like, I know Seth, and there was a lot of stuff around back then, but it wasn't accessible in my sphere, let's just say. So, Psalms, the Bible scriptures was mostly it, and self-help stuff. And then when I was 16, after already having been connected to Spirit, having visions, having, you know, always been by choice by myself because I preferred the connection I would have with Spirit and the conversations and just the connection with everything. And when I turned 16 and I heard about the harmonic convergence and I got some information given to me on that. And then at the same time, one of my guides incarnate, this guy, through a friend of mine, he gave me the first Cryon book. He gave me Bringers of the Dawn with Barbara Marciniak. So I started studying Barbara Hand Clow, Barbara Marciniak, Cryon, the harmonic convergence information. And then I branched out to more channeled information, Syrian, Pleiadian, other people that were channeling the Pleiadians, and like Billy Meyer's story, all the Seth information. Okay, and Barbara Marciniak had other books besides Bringers of the Dawn, and I read and studied all those. And it's interesting because those change in different realities. More on that another time. But I I also studied lots of alternative medicine, healing, frequency, homeopathy, cures, like the Rife machine, high oxygen therapies, just tons of healing modalities, energy, therapeutic touch, shamanic energy healing. I studied the information from the Mayans. I've been to the Yucatan. I studied Hawaiian information. I've been to the lava flow, and I have connected with spirits all over the world. When I was in the Yucatan, I went to Chichen Itza and Tulum and the Isle of Women and Cozumel. I went to the Mayan ruins, and I felt an initiation. The Mayan culture is a bit barbaric, but when you understand that there's no such thing as death, it's just like playing a video game, When people make up a religion, they do it based on what they believe, what they have studied, what their sphere of influence is. Okay, so whatever has been put up on them, programs from their ancestors, stuff like that. However, they have a connection to land, they're channeling information, they're getting information from all kinds of different sources, and they're making up a religion for various reasons. And a lot of them are seeking followers, and those followers sustain them, and they become our governments. Okay, they become our taxes, they become but they're all made up. Okay, there'll be a lot more background on that. This is just kind of a Reverend Crystal Cox ramble on it. My religion, I call divinity. And my whole life, when I come across spiritual information, and it could just be a profound sentence in a book, and I'll see the sentence and I'll just boom, then I'll just channel a whole bunch, just right. I've written what I called poetry, but it was actually coded words that Spirit gave me to awaken myself and others, and to bring those words into this realm through tone, through my own voice. And so the information that I have got through my ancestry line, which wasn't really much. My mother didn't teach me about anything spiritually. Spirit did. Spirit, I don't know if ancestors, whatever I called spirit at the time, I saw things. I knew things psychically before they happened. I had that connection and that teaching through spirit. And then I studied biblical stuff with my grandma and went to all the churches in town, because my dad wouldn't let me go to the Jehovah's Witness church when I was a kid unless I went to them all, because he didn't want me to be indoctrinated by one. But I was only going there to be close to my grandmother. He didn't know that. I already had a firm grasp on spirit by that time, and I wasn't going to be indoctrinated or baptized into their any of their ceremonies. I was never a follower. And in creating my own religion, I'm not seeking followers. I call my religion divinity, and for me, this is about, I've always, like, whatever I read, write, watch a video, whatever I do, I'm always taking notes of what, yes, they're saying, and then what Spirit teaches me through that information, and what I channel and what I bring through. I've done that my whole life. I'm 51 now. And so I've always written it down for myself to teach and learn later. And so now I'm writing it down as a doctrine, not really the doctrine you see out there in my videos on the doctrine in my church. That's one thing. But this is a religion that I'm creating called divinity. And also my influence is Bashar, Bentino, Abraham Hicks, tons and tons of channeled information. I can't even think of it all at this moment. Keys of Enoch comes to mind. There's just Mary Magdalene channelings. I think of it in terms of God and goddess sometimes, but when you really see through the realms, it's not really about gender. It's really about your preference and what feels in alignment with you. And so I'm writing, you can think of it like, you see those big books of quotes, right? Well, it's kind of like that. That's what religion is, right? That's what scripture is. But I don't find the Bible inspiring, and I never have. Okay. So Psalms and Matthews, yes, inspiring. That was more like self-help. Each scripture, then Spirit could take me in a different direction. But learning about all these names and towns and places and things in the Bible, I'm not interested. And I don't care if it's the word of somebody's God, okay? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't change my life. It doesn't make my life better. It doesn't strengthen my connection with who I feel the energy of Jesus Christ is. It doesn't change anything to do with Mary or what, and this whole, the patriarch or even the matrix, someone be in charge of someone else. To me, it's about sovereignty. Okay. And it's about profound things and ways that I've learned and come across my whole life that help me to be my highest and best self. And I write these things down daily, all the time, my whole life, to remind myself on keys to be my better self, to be happier, to be more content, to be my highest and best, happiest self, and create the life that I prefer, and not keep trying to be what society might want me to be so they're more comfortable, or what those people in my life or my ancestral line might want me to be so that they're more comfortable. Okay. And so I write this stuff down all the time to remind myself. So now I'm putting it in this informational process, we'll call right now, called the Divinity Scriptures. And when you look at, I'm not going to go into this now, but the definition of the word church, the definition of the word pastor, of religion, of philosophy, of scriptures, all of these are words. And they mean whatever they mean to you. When you look at the origin of words and you really dive into it, it's quite interesting. And I've done that in the introduction to divinity. So also looking at it is if I completely forget everything that I've learned in this lifetime, and I come back and I have another lifetime, or choose to go be here in new earth in a new way, then I would like to come across this book, the Divinity Scriptures. I'd like to, or books, volumes of books of the Divinity Scriptures. There's so many people out there who write their own volumes of things, right? And it's always from something they get from somewhere else, and then they add their own unique perspective. They add their preferences. They add I add what I channel, what I bring in, what Spirit shows me. I add in my own life experiences and all of the influences of things that I've studied, and I call it my own religion. And then I hope to then have that information accessible to me when I come back. Okay. So if I reincarnate and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to deal with emotions. I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how to be my best self and manifest and create. I forgot how to be a human. This book would then tell you how to be a human, right? And you would find it. I would find it, right, as soon as I learned to read. And who knows how long I'll live. I mean, I'm 51 now. So say if I live even 10 years, but if I live 20 years, I mean, the world's going to be a lot different place. And new earth and this great awakening going now. But the basics of humanity is going to be the same. The basic universal laws of how we create abundance, how we identify beliefs, and how we move towards, I thought it was going to be just some boom instant, right? That people would just know. And if everybody at one moment just know something, there can be a collective shift in an instant. And that could happen, and that's moving towards happening. However, I'm creating this information on the kind of teachings and healings that I do through my church, like basically helping people to try to figure out their belief systems, right? Because every feeling is caused by a belief. What must you believe that if you feel like other people's causing it, what must you believe that other people, does it even matter to you what they think? How does it change your life, what they think of you? Okay. Now we help people to logically unwind things. It's kind of a little bit of a 3D process, because logic helps them identify what belief they must have in order to be feeling the feeling they're feeling. And then with that, they can go, oh, well, I didn't really believe that. Right. But you have a negative feeling. So when you have a feeling in your body that feels bad, the belief is out of alignment. Okay. That's someone else's belief or something else that some other energy wants you to feel, but you don't really feel it. And so you're out of alignment. Okay, so the Divinity Scriptures is based on a religion called divinity, which I'm making up. And I'm not looking for anyone to follow me, and I'm not looking for anyone to believe me. I have a certain rituals that I do every day. I have certain things that I've studied, and they're in mass, and it's been my whole life I've been in connection with spirit. And so I'm writing them down for a few people, for myself mostly, and for myself to come back to in my next life. I thought you said you were going to move on to the home planet. Yeah, I thought so, but it appears that we've got a lot to do to raise the consciousness of humanity and awaken, and then unfracture, and then there's a lot we're doing in this awakening, and so odds are we will be coming back, but we'll be coming back to a new earth, a higher frequency. We won't be debt slaves. We won't be like, we'll have free energy. They don't like take electricity and put it in a wire and then charge you so that they can send you to some meaningless, stupid job, and all these things to make it so that you don't know your power. Okay. You don't know your manifestation powers. You don't know your spirituality powers. You're just going to do whatever they say. So all these ways to harvest you and keep you focused on creating a world they prefer instead of a world you prefer won't be there. There won't be landlords. There won't be bosses. And it won't be people out there going, "You're too lazy to work." Heard that my whole fucking life, right? Yeah, in my religion, you can say the F word. I would work like in my own business, like 20 hours a day. I just, I was really just created. I had businesses. I was, I made $1 million. I've just done fucking everything, right? And it's never enough. If you don't have a mainstream slave job, then you don't got to, get out there and work. You just have a job, right? But a president sneezes, for example, and stocks go up. Right? People get millions of dollars in a day. Oh, he did this. Oh no, there's a new this, there's a new that. So then stocks go this way or that way. And these same people are okay with that, right? They're just busybodies next door who want to judge you, right? And when other people judge you and it feels bad, then you identify the belief of what you must believe in order to feel bad with them judging you, right? There's a lot to unwind, because when you really sit down and you go, well, what if everybody hates me? Who cares? What does that look like? Nobody's here. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's in this room. Nobody's, I can invite people in. I choose to be alone and to do my spiritual work alone. But why would they matter? They only matter because of the self-consciousness programs we have as a child, or our ancestry line, or we bring in to heal. Because what could it possibly matter if a bunch of people don't like me? Okay. At first it was weird, right? The regular you experience, like, oh, the kids at school might not like you, or you wear something different and they all make fun of you, or you're out on the sports floor and you do something, you're embarrassed, and oh my God, what does embarrassment really do? Nothing, right? But we have all of that, and God, I forgot what I was going to say. All right, well, but just mainly about what can they really do to you? Okay, so, I know what I was going to say. So I started reporting on corruption, right, in my hometown, and I wasn't believed, right? I had the reports, I had the information, I was telling the truth, right? I'd had the documentation reports from the police, I had all the stuff, right? And they're like, that's not true. And so it kind of stung at first. And it was like, I was liking it the other day, I tell people, to the movie Hidalgo, right? So if you get like something hits you in the face, okay? And then it hits you in the face, and you're kind of like this. You're like, and that's how it was the first time in my hometown, when the people, they ridiculed me. They come after me, the messenger, when I was supporting the victims of bad things. It was quite shocking, right? And it was like, sting, sting, sting. But then I started doing it on a global scale. And then I had the big media and big everybody after me, right? And I was on the Associated Press and in all the TV, and I had so much hate and so much discrimination and just so much coming at me. I likened it to the Hidalgo, I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a horse race in Egypt. And so when the sand starts hitting him and he's like this and he's like this and he's like this, so that's my hometown. But then when he's really in the race, he's really in it and committed to the long haul, he has to just cover his face and just keep moving. Because when there's so much sand, you just cover and keep moving. But when there's a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, then it's kind of annoying. You really learn to be, it's not so much tough skinned or thick skin, but really certain of yourself. The more people that you have against you in mass, the more you go, well, maybe I'm wrong, right? How could 5 million bazillion people be right and me be wrong? Or how could I be right and all of them be wrong? Like, no way, right? Just look at the numbers. But it's not true, right? You know something they don't know. And even if you don't, who cares, right? You know you and you know what you prefer. So we find ourselves constantly trying to please some imaginary version of us so we feel better. And so it's about identifying that belief system. But if you don't know the tools to these, then where do you start, right? You not only do you feel bad, but you keep feeling bad. You go to a mainstream psychiatrist or whatever, and they tell you the same things over and over and over. You're restoring the past. You're bringing up the past, the traditional ones. There's a lot of good different ones now too. But once you tell your spiritual advisor or whoever the story once and you work on unwinding and healing it, it kind of should dissipate. If you keep saying it again and again and again, then you're creating more of that. And woe is me. And they don't have the tools to make this stuff dissipate. Okay. Now I have learned this stuff over, like I said, over a lifetime. I learn it over and over. I have profound moments all the time, right? Spirit's always telling me stuff. I'm like, wow, I get it. I saw the light, right? I mean, I just got it. I'm like, oh. And the next day I wake up depressed and miserable, right? I forgot. Okay. So then I'd go to my notes and remind myself. And I did that year after year after year, because even though I'm writing it, I'm studying it, I'd forget, right? And so in order to be my happiest, highest, best version of me, I would write this stuff down for myself to study. So I'm doing that again. And at a different, I don't want to call it level, but just a different way. And I'm calling it a religion that I'm creating called Divinity. And there'll be people that will laugh. Don't care. People that laugh at me all the time anyway. Think I'm stupid. They don't like it if I shave my head. They don't like it if I dye my hair black. They don't like me with teeth. They don't like me with the teeth missing. They don't like me when I call them too much. They don't like me when I never call them. They don't like me when I wear this. They don't like me when I wear that. Okay, I don't give a goo goddamn, as they say, right? If I just sit in my life and just care constantly what someone else thinks of me, which someone do I pick? Right? There's thousands of people out there. This is the year of the tiger, see? Tiger. And then the tiger up there. Year of the tiger, everybody. Anyway, so for the most part, I don't give a goo goddamn what anybody thinks, okay? Oh, what do you think of yourself? You're creating a religion. See, that to even be in my head, that means that I have that belief system of someone always putting me down, always telling me that I'm lazy, or I'm too skinny, or I'm too fat, or I'm too damn dumb, or I'm too damn smart for my own good. You know, they always got something to say. And I don't care. Okay? If you think of something, the Mandela effect, I don't call it that. I call it a quantum effect, a quantum shift. But that's a real, really solidifies this, because that really teaches you, either you know your mind or you don't. Okay? Was the sun yellow? Okay, was your heart on the left? Was it if you build it, they will come? For those of you who know the Mandela effect stuff, there's thousands of these, right? The people in the world you're in now can ridicule you, be like, oh, you're so dumb. Oh, you're so dumb. Oh my gosh, the sun was never yellow. What? It's always been white, right? Because it's white now. And so, and there's hundreds and thousands of these, right? So you have to know for sure what you experienced, because we're now living in a reality that's different. The books say something different, okay? We live in a reality where Isaiah scripture says that the wolf laid down with the lamb, okay? It was the lion laid down with the lamb, okay? But if you just go by this society, then it's crazy making. Oh my gosh, she's crazy. She thinks it's this. It's a memory problem, or she's nuts, or she's this, or she's that. So there's every second of every day, there's something that can sway you in a different way, okay? So much like the witches, you know, the shadow book or the grimoire or whatever, they write down what worked for them, okay? Whether it be spells or recipes or quotes or epiphanies, you know, And then they hand it down generation after generation. And so that is your divinity. Now, the divinity religion is not seeking followers. It's information. It's all faith-based. The divinity religion will never say your faith is wrong. We encourage you to be your true self. And we give you tools on how to be your true self, how to find out whether your beliefs are yours or not, how to understand if you have an emotion that feels bad, how to identify the belief and dissipate that emotion. How to refocus. Every time you get down, you get depressed, you got something holding you in place, you refocus, refocus, refocus back to what you want. How to never focus on what you don't want, but only put your energy, your thoughts towards what you do want. Because universal law, right? Like creates like. You can call it law of attraction, you can call it whatever you want. But it's common sense to think that the more you think of something, the more you're going to draw it to you. And it's actually literal. You know, it's quantum physics. And you know the double blind split experiments, you know that the observer affects the experiment. Okay, and each observer affects it different because each of us have our own perspective, our own frequency, our own energy field, our own thing going on. So we're going to affect each scientific experiment, everything out there, we affect it by being the observer. Okay, we are quantum. We create our reality by our beliefs, our emotions, our experiences. We're projecting this reality into this matrix, right? This simulation that we're in, that we join to experiment. I mean, there's lots of articles out there on we're in a simulation, we're in a holographic universe, blah, blah, blah. Well, it makes sense, right? You go to sleep one day, you wake up with, and the sun is, white. You shift to a different reality based on your own personal beliefs and on the beliefs of the collective. So if the goal is to be content, to be at peace, and to create new timelines, new constructs, new realities to experience and to enjoy, and to release and let go of this debt slave society, this controlling mechanism where they used you as their battery, as their energy source to create worlds for them, because they can't create. Humans are unique in being able to create. How do you create a life you want instead of a life the proverbial they want? The dark overlords, the predominantly reptilian, whatever you want to call them. Okay, and that's the keys to divinity. And when you read a book and you underline it, that's divinity. Each thing that you pull out of every book, any religion, it could be a recipe book, it could be a YouTube video, it could be a sign on a billboard, it could be anything, anywhere. You see something profound that strikes you, and it awakens something in you, and you write it down. Those are your divinity scriptures. They're not on any particular faith. They could be a Bible scripture. Okay, they could be something from the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church or the Jehovah's Witness Church. It could be the Luciferian. It could be anything across the board. You can call it dark, you can call it light, you can call it whatever you want. But if you prefer it, and then you call it dark and bad, then you're calling yourself dark and bad, right? Okay, it could be anything. That's your divinity. Okay? We are the Universal Church of Light, also called Bringing Back Goddess Church. And our religion is divinity, which is all faith. I have found every faith, every religious whatever I've ever studied, there's something in it, okay? I'm not just going to say, oh, they're bad and evil. And so this whole book, like, let's take this one, for example. So the Psychic Bible, okay? So if I find something in it creepy, then I go, oh, the whole book is bad. There's no information in there for me. Well, there is information in there, okay? There's lots of it. And you underline what you like, circle it, whatever, and then transfer it to another document. And I channel stuff from spirit. I write out my thoughts. I write stuff that comes to me in that moment that I don't remember in the next moment, for me to go back to later to remember, to keep perfecting myself. And I have studied tons of theosophy and thea, goddess and Jesus and the Lost Goddess, the Jesus mysteries. And I've named other stuff in the beginning of this, but I have a large amount of influences of channels and information that I have studied and I have brought forth my whole life. And that's what my sphere of influence is in creating this religion called Divinity. And like I said, I'm not seeking followers. I'm not seeking to be worshipped. I don't need anyone to read the scriptures or study them, or it's all about the one. And that's why I call it the ministry of the one. It's about you, the individual. So I sit down and pray with people in whatever faith they're in. Okay, I don't push any religion. I don't push any one way. There's not one true God. If there is one true God, it's you, the one true God. You are creator God. You project your reality every day. You project a version of reality that you believe exists. Once you understand your belief system and that might not be yours, and you clear that out of the way, then you create a reality you prefer. Okay? The ministry of the one is about helping each individual to be their highest and best self. Okay, not my version of you. I've studied all this stuff and I know best and you have to do this. No, it's about teaching you to know who you are, what you prefer, and how to conjure up the life you want in the cauldron of your own creation for you and about you and your own individual preference. Okay? It's tools and tips, profundities, epiphanies to help you to find your truest, best, happiest, most content self. And also, for me, it's about me reminding myself over and over and over. I mean, there is some information like Bashar or trigger, getting rid of triggers, getting rid of, and play and stuff. And there's some information that has been so profound to me, and I have forgot it and forgot it and forgot it and forgot it. Right? And the way I use books, like I have a bazillion of them, and I use books like oracle cards, right? I don't read them from cover to cover. I open them up and I read what Spirit wants me to see that day, what I feel most joyous and happiest about that day. And then I expand on that through information Spirit gives me or what I write. Okay? And so this is just a video, a little chat about a religion that I'm creating called Divinity. And when you research, what religions are made up, who created religion. And some people can be like, well, God created religion and they made the Catholic Church or they made the Christian Church. Well, the Christian Church supposedly are followers of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ didn't make up the church or the laws. If they were really following Jesus Christ, they would be like him. Okay, so they would be energy healing. They would be using plant medicine. They would be stopping taxes. They would be stopping the church that says, we're the right way, we're the only way, and if you don't like our way, we're going to burn you at the stake, right? We're going to jail you, we're going to fine you, we're going to tax you, we're going to harass you, we're going to put our medicine on you, our laws, that's not freedom. That's not true religion. That's something they made up to control you, okay? Divinity is about you making something up to live your best life and not need them to control you, okay? If they hadn't convinced everybody that they know best for you, I mean, how does that even happen, right? I mean, maybe it was my stepfather. Maybe it's just the mental training I had as a child, but I never bought into any of that crap, right? I have never believed any of mainstream anything. And I don't really relate to people who have. But I do relate to like sadness, grief, not being content, being like, well, wanting the life you want and how to create it and how to get rid of other people's programs and how to just keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself to find out all your triggers, all your programs. And this way of like, when you feel really bad about something's triggered you and you just go, I need a timeout. And you go, when you lay down, sit or whatever, and close your eyes and you find where it's at in your body and you look at it. You just feel it. You don't put a story to it. You don't feed it. You don't nothing. You don't say, oh, I wonder what that is, or bring up past memory. Just notice the feeling in the body and let it dissipate. Okay, that's one technique we use. Another is, of course, the identifying the belief. Like I'm going, oh, I feel really bad. I'd be like, well, why do you, like, what was the example I did some work with someone today about they were very self-conscious or whatever, and I'm like, well, what must you believe to be so fearful or self-conscious of being your real self? Like, what must you believe? Okay, and we identified the belief once they understood what that meant. Be like, well, what do you mean, what must I believe? Well, you must believe that what you have to say isn't valid. Like, if you're feeling stupid, you must believe that you are stupid. You must believe that their version of you is more important than your version of you. You must believe that there's only one truth and they know it and you don't, and you're in some sort of trouble from some mysterious governing trouble body if you don't. Once you unravel all these and they sound kind of silly, the logic goes away, and you go almost like a spring, right? It unwraps the belief, and they're like, oh, and then you move on. And it takes many times to do this, to dissipate these beliefs, but then you get more and more into being in the true you. That's divinity. Okay, it's all religions. It's not everything of all religion. It's what I believe, what I connect to, and you for you. I'm not going to sit down with any religious doctrine and go, yes, I follow something. Never been that. Even when I studied the Jehovah's Witness stuff, right? And their magazines, I called like a Ranger Rick magazine or whatever. I've studied books, magazines, articles. When I dive into a topic, I study it from every angle, and I decide what I believe. And I don't say, well, it's wrong because I believe it, right? It's just, this is what I believe. I've studied it. I've channeled it, I've prayed about it, I've seen it, I've experienced, and this is what I've come up with that I believe for me. I don't believe for you. I don't think that anything's hard and fast for you, and divinity is about what I believe for me about me, and encouraging you to find out your belief and who you are for you, and to stop immediately trying to be anyone else's version of you. What's the payoff? Kisses? Sexuality? Approval? Money? What could possibly be the payoff for you to give up your true self, who you truly know you to be, in order for someone else to approve of you? Oh, I approve of that. Uh-oh, then there's 12 people over there who don't. Uh-oh, which ones do I please now? Which one do I like more? Which one do I appreciate more? Which one am I attracted to more? For whatever reason. And then that's the one you'll try to please next. But when you go within and you really have a good relationship with yourself, you are always being attracted to you and wanting to please you and love you. Okay? Do videos for yourself to remind yourself of the epiphanies, of the things you come to know one day. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so profound and so amazing, and I will never forget it. You do. I've sat outside many different movies, and I have just had profundities, and Spirit has downloaded all this time. I'm like, wow, this is how it is. This is how we this is how we that. This is how we, and I thought, no way would I ever forget it, right? So I didn't necessarily write it down, right? But I did forget. And I trust that our information will come to us when it's supposed to, and that we never really lose anything, right? It's all in the Akashic records. It's all stored in our frequency and our biofield. However, in order for me to keep working on it, I want to know what it is, the keys. And then reminded of, well, you don't have to work on anything. Oh, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on it, right? If it needs to be worked on, it's not for you, okay? And I don't just mean relationships. I definitely, if relationships need to be worked on, don't. But in some of my studies tonight about, okay, I'm going to work on being this, work on being that, work on being that. Well, if you just believe that you are, and if you take away the belief systems that stop you, you instantly shift into that version of you. You don't have to work on it. I see. So there's a little bit about divinity, which is the religion that I believe. And it's a religion that I've made up, and I'm going to continue to make up. And I've made it up my entire life. And I've traveled alone my entire life. When I was a kid, I just hung out on a 90-mile lake with my motorbike, and I venison, and I made my fires, and I made my food, and I give spiritual advice, even as a kid, to the different camper people traveling through. If the kids didn't want to play what I wanted to play, I went and played by myself, right? I made things out of clay down at the lake, and I just listened to my Bible my Psalms and Matthews, and I just hung out and walked the beaches. And it turned out, doing that at 8 or 9, 11 years old, and I'm now 51, and that's what I'm still doing, right? Communing with Spirit, walking the beaches, and tons of astral travel, right? Deep, deep sleeping and dreaming. And the line is so thin, right, between sleep and awake. And I have so many wonderful experiences in my dream time. I work things out. I experience things. I have amazing conversations. I go amazing places on the astral in different realms. And it's just wonderful. And I remember it. And I'm practicing more with lucid dreaming, and to be able to astral travel on demand, where you want to go and how you want to go. First is a lot about lucid dreaming. And the other day, Spirit was working with me. It was incredible. I was working on lucid dreaming stuff. And then I fell asleep. And then in the dream, I woke up and so I'm dreaming of, it was a particular room, like say there's this kitchen and there's this room divider. And then there's this child's room, and there was like this upside down track or this thing that was kind of like a roof, made this little fort. And there was a few other things. And so, there was some people outside a fire pit. Like I can just see it all really clear now. And then, for some reason, somehow, I don't know, I fell asleep in the dream. Okay. And then I woke up. So I thought when I woke up in the dream that I was awake in this reality, but I was awake in the dream. So it was a dream within the dream. And so I woke up, and then I went in that same kitchen. There was no room divider. Like, it was a counter between the living room. It was really clear it was not there. And then that thing in the kids' room, that fort thing, was not there. So it was really clear to me that I was lucid dreaming. So I was like, all right. But it was from the perspective of the dream. So not like, I'll explain that in a minute. So I was like, okay, I'm lucid dreaming. This is so cool. I want to experiment with stuff. So I walked into this room. I seen this TV, the old fashioned ones with the big, the thick ones, and there was people. I recognized some, I knew some. I won't go into all the details of that. But then I thought, well, what should I look at? Like, people can't see me. I'm just walking around. So then I convinced myself that I'm either a ghost and I'm walking around in realities that exist and people don't see me, or I'm somehow astral traveling, or anyway. But then the people are like, someone offered me a cup of coffee, and I'm like, you can see me? And they're like, yeah. And so I'm like, oh, I said, I thought I was lucid dreaming. And they just kind of shook their head at me, right? And so I'm doing this and doing that. And then I wake up in this reality, right? In this room. And I'm like, oh. So one key to lucid dreaming was given to me, of that it was the dream within the dream. And, why not explain that? I've had that kind of stuff my whole life. Like I remember I used to sneak out at night when I was in high school, and I'd climb down the house, and then I'd, go through the trees and whatever. And I'd find myself, I'd cross this big football field at our high school, on the way to where I was going. And, I would just phase. Like I didn't know which reality I was in. And it's happened my whole life, but that's when I first started remembering it. Like I felt like I could just lay down and go to sleep, like on the football field. And I had to just keep focusing, going, no, in this reality, we have to stay awake, have to stay clear. So I'd stay focused on where I was traveling to. And I remember that happened so many times in my life. Even happened, a few weeks ago, driving at night, where I would be in one version of my car, and then another version, I'd be over here. Like I would phase in and out of timelines or realities, and I could see it. And anyway, there's just a lot to share. And I want to share it for myself, stories of where I've been, what I've seen, in tools of humanity and in perspective, and sharing it with those who are interested, and leaving it for myself. And again, like I said, I'm not looking for followers. I never have been. Everything that I've done to make the world a better place, and what I thought would, whether it did or not, was based on just following my own beliefs of what I thought was the best thing at the time, what I was excited about, what I was passionate. And I feel like I have made the world a better place, and I feel like my work matters. And that's tonight. Sometimes I feel the opposite. So we just keep refining, and we just keep moving more and more towards that goal of contentment and peace and happiness, and projecting and creating the world that we want to live in. So, Reverend Crystal Cox, Universal Church of Light, Goddess Church, and our religion is called Divinity. And like I said, there will be plenty that laugh at me, but people laugh at me every day. People don't get it. People fight me. People rise up against me when I speak. I know I don't have a belief so much as I don't have like an opinion. I have a knowing, and it's not a knowing for you. It's a knowing for myself. And I have died many times. I have nearly froze to death. I know that moment of a little bit of warmth trickling through you. And to come back from that, I know intense fear. I've experienced some pretty amazing things. And that's on top of astral travel and shifting parallel realities and all that. So I'm not going to be shaken by someone, I don't like you. I don't like your hair. I don't like what you say. I don't like what you write. And how does that affect my life? You weren't there in my darkest hour. You weren't there in my lightest hour. You're nothing to me. But it triggers our programs. Oh, I wish you liked me. What should I change? Should I get my hair up in curls and wear earrings and makeup? And how should I have everything so that you're okay with me? And then I'll get it all just so they'll be like, nah. Or you'll want to please somebody different. So really, divinity is about knowing yourself. Know who you are. It's the key to everything. It's how you create reality. It's how you experience reality. It's where you go next, because you don't die. You move on. The Mandela effect should really drive that home if you've experienced that we don't need our body, right? Dreamtime already did that to me. I knew that I can do things in my dreams, didn't need my body. I knew I didn't need my body. I've always known that there wasn't death, but the Mandela effect really shut it down. For me, before that, on and off, I'd wanted to die. I was like, I'm done here. This life is like, oh, and I just wanted to cross over, on and off my whole life. And after I seen that shift like that, I was like, I insert eye roll, right? Dying is completely irrelevant, because you wake up and you continue, right? Proven by the fact that I went to sleep one night, and I'll never know what particular night or what particular moment in time, and the sun was yellow, and then it was white. My heart was on the left, and it was in the center. My kidneys moved, all the things that you know about the Mandela effect. It happened in an instant, and happened in consciousness, as if some USB with crystal in it was pulled out and put in another version. And there's so much of it I don't understand, right? Like, why did I bring my scars with me? Why did I bring certain emotional attributes? Why did these things come with me and that not? I don't claim to understand it. But I know that I chose this experience here on Mother Earth. I know I came here to help raise the vibration of Mother Earth and her people. And I know that I have a lineage and a line of trauma and abuse and so many things that I am healing for the collective and for my DNA line by every single thing that I heal in myself, in addressing every trigger, every program, everything I can about myself to be the highest and best version of myself through what I know and what I'm taught, and not pleasing man or the governments of man, and not being part of the governments of man. Okay? Divinity is a liberation from the governments of man. Divinity is all religions and none. Divinity is what moves you from any sacred text or sound or beauty, from any source. That's divinity. And your divinity connection is with you. And connecting with spiritual entities such as Jesus Christ is profound and beautiful. And you feel that love. Your higher self, your spirit family from home, whether it's Pleiadians, Syrians, whoever you communicate with, okay, that's all very, very profound. But the most important thing is your own consciousness, your own communication with yourself, with the I am, your inner dialogue, okay? And to be the best version of you is not most successful, most money, most degrees, most blah, 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 blah. But the goal is to be content. It wasn't too long ago, I was listening to an astrology reading, and this guy said, well, nobody ever asks to just be content. And I was like, actually, I would love to just be content. And so that kind of is an ultimate goal, right? Peace of mind. This striving to be something, to go somewhere, to have success. What is it? It's something that someone else decided, that someone else put a definition to what that success is. And you strive for it. And it's not your preference, and you're not happy, and you're not at peace, and you're not content. Divinity is contentment. It is best friends with yourself. It is a marriage to yourself. It is a beautiful connection with yourself. And then when you connect with anyone else, friends, lovers, whoever, you're doing it as a place of one sovereign individual to another sovereign individual. No one needing the other, no one completing the other. No one's, my religion is best, my recipe is best, my knowledge is best. No. It's about knowing you and doing what's best for you versus your own definition of what's best for you. And not telling me anything of what's best for me. If I want to learn from you, then I'll ask you. Okay? People that have experienced profound things, I love getting information from them. And it's interesting because I mostly get information from a download. You know, like people who experience, I'm flashing on this one homeless man, just the experiences that he's had, just amazing. And just being within 6 feet of him, I download his experiences and I simulate them into mine. And I pick what I prefer. And I think we're doing that all the time. But not all the information is about reading, right? And especially English. I mean, there's all kinds of languages. And then if you look at, I've been doing that Bashar sacred circuitry, you know, those 15 minutes of 15 images of reconnecting the circuits in the brain. And it's so fascinating because like say there's a symbol for manifest. So my mind is already using the symbols in a sentence instead of a word. And that's wonderful. You know, it must be pretty amazing to be bilingual. I always wonder about the confusion of how they go in and out of words or whatever in their mind. And then if you think about it, like babies, you know, they come here able to communicate. They're laughing. They smile, right? They're looking in your eyes now. They're so advanced now. But also, what are they thinking? Because they don't come in and they're not just not thinking. Right? They don't start thinking one day when they have the language to think. They're thinking before language. All these things are so wonderful to me. I've always just loved spiritual information, occult information, biblical information, deep, deep spiritual studies my whole life. And I've always really been attracted to witchcraft because that was one of the spirits that I worked with through my whole life. Nakai, she's a shaman, a witch, Indian elder. She comes to me as a mother maiden crone, you know, and I've had that spirit guide my whole life. And I've always been attracted to pentacles, been attracted to herbal healing, which now is more about frequency and quantum, which we'll go into in another time. But just witchy cottages, and I've traced back to 7th generation witch on both sides of my family. However, it's not about spells, and it's not about, I don't know what a lot of people might think of it. To me, it is about conjuring up energy, manifesting the life you want. It's about divinity, right? It's about healing. It's about things that are sacred. It's about things of Mother Earth and dirt and herbs and fire and the wind and the water and the animals. And it's a shaman, right? Witches are shamans. And it's just, I've always been attracted to that. And so I don't fear that label in any way. And anyway, so there'll be a lot more from this day forward, probably for the next 20 years, of me talking about divinity. And if you're here, then obviously you enjoy listening to me. And if you don't enjoy listening to me or prefer it, please just stop. I love you. God bless you. Bye for now.